Well, on Saturday, May 3rd of 2025, a shocking and sad incident happened in Fangak County, South Sudan, when a Doctors Without Borders hospital was bombed by one of the parties clashing in this recent upscale of violence in South Sudan. While the Doctors Without Borders released a statement and did not point out on the particular parties that led to that bombardment of the hospital, which, by the way, led to the loss of lives of a few people as well as many injuries from that particular incident, it is important to note that the conflict and chaos in mostly northeastern part of South Sudan is increasing day by day. Well, in this video, I'm going to tell you about that brutal scene, what exactly happened on that fateful night, as well as I'm going to tell you what the government spokesperson of South Sudan, Michael Makuei, had said prior to that particular incident happening. And in this video, I'm also going to tell you about the role of the Uganda's People Defense Forces in assisting the South Sudanese People Defense Forces in fighting in South Sudan, and the allegations that the UPDF might have assisted the South Sudanese People Defense Forces in that particular attack that happened in Fangak County. Well, this is Bonafide. If you haven't subscribed, kindly subscribe and hit that notification button so that when I release something new on the South Sudanese crisis, you get notified as soon as possible. Well, a hospital in Old Fangak, Jonglei State was bombed at around 4 a.m. on Saturday, May 3rd, 2025. This hospital was the only functional medical facility in the area that was serving about 110,000 people who now face a critical shortage of life-saving medicine in their locality. But what exactly happened at the fateful night of May 3rd, 2025 when this bombardment happened? Well, to understand exactly what happened on that fateful night, it is important to go back to the previous day, that is May 2nd of 2025, that fateful Friday, when there was a release of a statement by the South Sudanese government. And that statement came from the South Sudanese People Defense Forces spokesperson, Major General Lul Ruai Kohan, who revealed that there are several barges and boats belonging to a United Nations agency and a Sudanese businessman were hijacked in Leah County, Unity State, and Fangak County, Jonglei State. Well, that was the report that was released by the spokesperson of the South Sudanese People Defense Forces on Friday, before that attack that happened on Saturday. There was some aggression by what the South Sudanese People Defense Forces would like to call the opposers of the government, that is the SPLA-IO, the troops that are allied to the first vice president, as well as the White Army, what the government of South Sudan would like to call the Nuer ethnic White Army that has been causing trouble with the South Sudanese People Defense Forces in Nasir County for quite a month or two right now. So that is what happened on May 2nd, that there were barges as well as boats that were missing, and the government of the day, that is through the spokesperson of the military, say that these people are the ones who have stolen these boats and these barges, and therefore they said that we are going after these people who have stolen this equipment from the UN, as they said, from the military as well as from businessmen in those localities as mentioned. It is therefore not a coincidence that several hours after that particular statement was released by the spokesperson of the South Sudanese People Defense Forces, mentioning even the county and the state that the May 3rd attack happened. It therefore goes without saying that that attack came from higher powers, higher authorities in South Sudan. Perhaps they were pursuing these people who had taken this equipment from the businessmen, the UN, and the military, and this was their way. This is not something unusual in South Sudan in this recent conflict, as we have seen several airstrikes by the government of the day in different places in northeastern part of South Sudan. The government has been very bold to go after the so-called White Army. It has been very bold to go after the SPLA-IO, saying that these people are against the government, they are causing mayhem in the country, and we have to attack them by all means. The use of the helicopters to fight the insurgencies in northeastern part of South Sudan has been having the assistance of the Uganda's People Defense Forces. But before we go to the UPDF, it is important to note that in this particular attack that happened to the Doctors Without Borders in South Sudan, this is a medical facility. These are people who are not armed or fighting against anyone. There were civilians who were casualties because of this attack that happened in the wee hours of the morning. And it is important to note that the government of South Sudan, through their Minister of Information, Michael Makuei Lueth, came out and said that they really don't care whether you are a civilian or not if you are in a hostile area. And I'm going to quote what Michael Makuei Lueth said about civilians who are in the so-called hostile regions in South Sudan. These are the words of Michael Makuei Lueth before the attack that happened on May 3rd, 2025. These were attacks that were happening in Nasir County. He said that our Air Force has bombarded Nasir this morning. Vulnerable people who are in hostile areas, that is their concern. You are supposed to keep away from hostile areas. So when the bombardment happened, it happened to the forces. If you happen to be there within the forces, then there is nothing we can do about you. But if you are in town, outside the forces, nothing will reach you. Those are the remarks of the Minister of Information, Michael Makuei Lueth, say that if you are a civilian and you happen to be in a place where the government has marked to be hostile and there are forces there, then he said that the government will not be culpable if you end up losing your life because of the bombardments that were happening in Nasir County then. So these bombardments have been taking place in different parts of northeastern part of South Sudan. And it is not a surprise that even yesterday, that style, that measure, the use of equipment and military equipment firing against the people on the ground are the style that the South Sudanese government has been using to fight the insurgencies in northeastern part of the country. The people who have lost their lives because of this sad event are innocent people. These are injured people. Some of these people were critically ill and could not move. Those who could be able to move fled the scene. And of course, they are not 100% health-wise. That means that they are worse off right now because they are lacking the needed medical attention that they were getting from this particular hospital. And what about the UPDF? What was the role of the UPDF in all this? While the Ugandan officials have stated that the UPDF does not possess chemical weapons or barrel bombs and does not target civilians or civilian infrastructure, however, there have been reports of UPDF involvement in airstrikes in regions like Nasir, which have led to civilian casualties and displacement. Therefore, while there is no official documentation from the government or any other source that the UPDF were directly involved in this particular attack that happened on May 3rd, it is important to note that the UPDF has been linked to other attacks that have been happening in northeastern part of South Sudan. Well, with the blame game politics that is happening in South Sudan, this party is saying that you are causing mass loss of lives, you are causing people to suffer, and this other party also saying that it is your fault that these people are suffering. It is important to note that the people at the middle are the innocent South Sudanese who are now forced to flee their homes, who are now forced to go without medication because this particular hospital was serving 110,000 people who now do not have medical attention in their area. The pharmacy, according to the Doctors Without Borders, the pharmacy was razed to the ground. Nothing could be salvaged from the pharmacy of that hospital, meaning that the entire region does not have medication. If perhaps anyone was injured, they have to go and seek medication elsewhere. It is important to note that these are the people who are really suffering from this back and forth between these two parties, whether they are allied to Salva Kiir, whether they are allied to the first vice president. The people at the middle are the innocent South Sudanese who are facing danger every now and then because of the stalemate in the country. Well, I will keep you informed of the latest of what is happening in South Sudan. Keep it bona fide.